Now, some people think that Democrats and Republicans are synonymous with liberals and conservatives, and that's BS. Okay, Democrats and Republicans are just a super PAC name that those people controlling the levers of power will use to control you by using that name and whatever propaganda they use to make you think whatever they want you to think. So, for example, the Dixiecrats of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, of the Southern Democrats, who were sicking dogs on children for trying to get on a bus or eat at a lunch counter or just at a water fountain. Okay, those people now reside in the Republican Party, but they were Democrats 50, 60 years ago. So those things change like the wind, in human terms. And then, there's the name of Republican, right? There's a bunch of Republicans out there that try and say that the Republican Party is the party of Lincoln. And that is as big a bunch of BS as I can imagine. Okay, if Lincoln were alive today, he would be considered the most radical left winger that's ever existed in politics, right? Think about what he did. First of all, conservatives say that they are against big government. Well, Lincoln made the government as big as it's ever been. How did he do that? Well, he allowed the government to go into your house and take your property. What property? Well, at that time, if you remember, slaves were property. So with the Emancipation Proclamation, he made those slaves in the slave states, in the southern states, free. And he did that for a couple of reasons, but the point is that is as radical and as big government as you can get. Nothing to do with quote unquote conservative principles, right? Plus, the Emancipation Proclamation, according to some scholars, may have not even been legal. But not only did he do that, doing that was just a political ploy to keep the Union together. So another thing that goes against what people would say are conservative values today that Lincoln did, well, his administration initiated social programs, right? Which is what a lot of conservatives say are one of the main problems with our government. That's why they try and scare people and call it certain things socialism, propaganda tactics, right? Well, if the Republican Party is the party of Lincoln, then they are the party of socialism because they instituted something called 40 acres, which was supposed to be given to the slaves after ratification of the Emancipation Proclamation. And then there was a mule that was suggested by William Tecumseh Sherman that they would actually be loaned a mule to work the land on the government's dime. Now, of course, this never actually happened because Andrew Johnson revoked it after Lincoln got shot in the head. Oh, yeah, individual thinkers, sometimes they get shot. Okay, so stop saying that the conservative movement, Republican Party, is the party of Lincoln, because it is not. Also, these things are fluid. Groups change party affiliation all the time, right? So-called black people voted largely Republican after Lincoln. But then when FDR started with his programs that were made to shore up some social issues and economic disparities, they began. Plus, he was just really super popular on any level. But that's when blacks started to vote more Democrat. And then after Kennedy had a ploy, he was running against Nixon, And Robert Kennedy had an idea. Let's call and see if we can get Martin Luther King out of jail. They put it out there publicly, saying that they're making an effort to get him out of jail. That swayed a lot of black people and made many more blacks, quote unquote blacks, start voting Democrat. And then after the civil rights legislation, that basically changed the game forever. And now you have where, as many as 95% of so-called black people vote Democratic now. So my point is that these names and these policies and groups certainly change. So there is no real super strong principles that are tying all these together, as I will illustrate later.